Hey GED students, it's GED question of the daytime, and we've got a simple little percent problem here. It says 10 is what percent of 25? So first of all, just to let you guys know, you probably won't have something this straightforward on the GED. Percent is more likely to be folded up in a multi-step word problem or attached to a graph or passage, a science scenario, or a social studies scenario. However, you need this skill of being able to find a percent in order to do those multi-step problems. So we're building up to what this is going to look like on the GED here. So it says 10 is what percent of 25? Now, off the top of my head, guys, I can think of 4 different ways to do this problem. Whenever I have multiple ways to do a problem in the world of math, we are going to end up arguing about which way we think is the simpler way. And a lot of times I teach this based on whatever other particular concepts I've been highlighting that semester in my GED class. But since a bunch of you watching this video won't be in my class, you'll be watching it at different times, I'm sitting here going, which way should I teach this? Okay, so that being said, I'm going to show it 2 ways. And if you do it a different way, that's okay. Okay, but the 2 ways that I'm going to show you are what's known as direct translation. I love teaching it this method because even though this isn't necessarily the easiest method for students, it actually prepares you for more than percent problems on the test. You have translation problems on the test where you have to write in algebra. You have to take something that's written mostly in English and write it in the language of algebra. So I'm going to do it that way. And then the other way I'm going to do it is I'm going to make a ratio. A ratio is a fraction, and then convert that ratio to a percent. Now, I'll get the same answer either way, and of course you won't have to do anything 2 ways on your test. You're welcome to take whichever one you prefer and run with it. But I'm teaching these 2 ways because they prepare you for more than one GED test problem, not just percentage problems, but other things. So to me, it's a good use of our time. So let's try direct translation first. Direct translation is this idea of turning this math statement, kind of math-glish, I should say. It's like half English, half math. I'm going to take it and I'm going to turn it into a straight up algebraic equation. Let me show you what I mean. First, I see the number 10. 10's already a number symbol written in our little language of algebra, so I'll write 10. Now I see the word is. Now you should know if I say something is something else, like Kate is a girl, in math we translate that to an equal sign. I am equal to a girl. Or like X is 7. Mathematicians would write X is 7 like that. X equals 7. Okay, so the word is giving me an equal sign here. So 10 is, I'm going to put that right there. Now I see a really interesting thing here. It says 10 is what percent? What percent? So this is an unknown thing. I do not know the percent that 10 is. And so what I'm going to do, whenever you have an unknown in algebra, you let a letter stand in for it. So I'm going to use the letter P since what we have is a missing percent. 10 is what percent? Now I see the word of. Now this is one you should write down because many students forget this. The word of can be directly translated to multiply. That's literally what it means, and students feel like that's wrong. Like half of 10 is the same as half times 10. They say, Kate, no, that's not true. Of means divide because, when I'm finding half of 10, I just take 10 and divide by 2. Now, that might be cool that you know a shortcut trick, but I promise you, half of 10 literally does mean half times 10. Okay, whether you know a different shortcut, a different route to go or not, it literally means multiply, okay? So I see the word of, that means I'm multiplying. I'm multiplying by what? Well, they tell me what number to multiply by, 25. Okay, now this is interesting. I've directly translated this, but it's not written exactly the way most mathematicians would write it because of right here. You should remember that how do we multiply together numbers and variables? In algebra class, well, you just write the variable first, so I'll write the 25 first, and I'm sorry. Can I re-say that, guys? I just screwed it up. We just write the number first. That'll be the coefficient. So I'll write the 25 first. And then we write the variable, the letter second. To say p times 25, I just say 25p. And of course, that's equal to 10. And now what I've done here is I've translated this directly into an algebraic equation. And hopefully you guys have solved one-step equations before. And you can see that in order to get p alone, I need to do the opposite of what's happening here. I need to divide away the p. Oh, I wanted a different color. I'm sorry, I need to divide away the 25. Now, if you have no idea what I'm doing right here, that means you need one-step equations. Go check out the full-length class video on that. The rule of solving equations is I can do whatever I want as long as I do it to both sides. So let me divide the other side by 25 as well. I've kept my balance, so this is totally legit. Let's see what my new equation will be. On the right-hand side, multiplying and dividing by 25 are opposites. They'll cancel, and only my p will be left. And on the left-hand side, you see I have some math to do. 10 divided by 25. 10 divided by 25 gives me 0.4. But I have got to warn you, 0.4, this is not a percentage yet. This is a decimal. And look, they didn't ask me what decimal, they asked me what percent of 25. So I have got to do a little bit of work to convert this decimal into a percent. Remember that converting to a decimal to a percent, or any kind of number to a percent, is just the same as multiplying by 100%. So I could do that. And of course, if I did that, my decimal would move once, twice, and I would end up with 40%. P is equal to 40%. Okay. So this is how I would do this problem with algebra, direct translation. One method to do it. I highly recommend you practice this method because, like I said, you will have to write algebraic equations and expressions on the GED, so you're practicing that. You will also have to solve equations, so you're practicing that. So you're kind of hitting 3 GED birds with one stone: percents, writing equations, and solving equations. That being said, a lot of students hate me for this method. So I'm going to show you one other way. Let's go ahead and erase this and look at another method. Okay, so another method that you can do is to write a ratio. That's just a fraction, and convert to a decimal. This will also work, and in fact, if you were to compare your notes side by side from the last method we did and this method we did, you'd see that you're basically doing the same math, even though you're thinking about it differently, the why of what you're doing. You're basically going to end up with the same math in the end. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, if I say 10 is what percent of 25, let's imagine that this didn't say what percent, it said what ratio. If I'm asking 10 is what ratio of 25, now remember, percents and ratios are both looking at pieces as part of a whole. So they're very related concepts. They're almost identical. Just a different way of how we express the answer. So what I'm saying here is like, what portion of 25 is 10? I want to compare the number 10 to my total, 25. 10 out of 25. 10 is the piece or the part, as I call it. And 25 here is the total. If I ask 10 is what percent of 25, I'm asking you to look at the ratio 10 out of 25 and convert it into a percent. So starting with this 10 out of 25 converting to a percent, and again, there's not one right way to do this, but since we're about to take our GED test with our TI-30XS calculator, I'm going to show you how to do it in a calculator. You can just straight up type in this fraction and then convert to a percent by using the arrow percent button. So now I'm going to type that into my calculator. I'm going to type N over D to get a fraction. I'll put the 10 on the top of the fraction. I'll arrow down to the bottom of the fraction to put in the 25. I'll press right arrow to get out of the fraction. So the right arrow is on that little circular button you have there. And I'm hitting this one, the one on the right. And then I want the convert to percent key. So what you're going to notice is that the convert to percent key is in green up above the close parentheses button. So if you want that, press second first. Anytime you want something in green, press the second button and then convert to percent. And then you'll notice that it just tells me, oh, 10 out of 25 converted to a percent is 40%. You can see I got the exact same answer. So 2 different ways to go, and certainly not the only ways to go. I will just remind everybody, if you have another way, use it. If you have a way you like, use it by all means. But if you have any questions about this or any other GED math topic, feel free to drop it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it.